When Ahyeon was little, life seemed simple. Her dad led her to their brand new house, all smiles and excitement. To little Ahyeon, it felt like a castle, and she was the princess moving in. She had no idea that behind the polished floors and shiny walls, the real story of this house would be far darker than anything she could imagine. The house wasn't just a family nest. It was a gift. Sehi, Ahyeon's mother, had worked tirelessly to support her husband's business, and in return, he decided to put the house in her name. That's right. The certificate itself proudly declared Kim Sehi as the owner. Her husband even told her with a warm smile that now she could do whatever she wanted. Cute, right? Sweet even. Except, Sehi took that statement way too literally. Her husband wasn't some average salaryman struggling to make ends meet. Nope, he was doing very well in the technology field. So well, in fact, that life was comfortable. To celebrate their new home, Sehi did what any doting wife might do. She invited her husband for a late-night drink. Now, he happily sipped, complimenting the taste. But soon, his head spun, his chest tightened, and he gasped for air. And what did Sehi do? Did she panic and call for help? Nope, she just watched. Smiling. Even laughing as her husband collapsed right there in front of her. It turned out when he told her she could do whatever she wanted, she took it as permission to commit murder. She didn't just want the house. She wanted freedom, control, and apparently a little late-night entertainment in the form of poisoning. At first, Sehi underestimated her husband. She thought he was just brainy, but useless with money. But as it turned out, he was pretty valuable, and now gone. Meanwhile, Ahyeon, who was still a child, wandered to her mother in the middle of the night because she couldn't sleep. Innocent little thing had no idea her dad had just taken his last breath. While that unsettling family drama unfolded, elsewhere in the city, Detective Choi had his own headache. He showed up at the office of Assemblyman Kwon Kangman. Now, the rules were clear. No appointment, no meeting. But Detective Choi, hearing Kangman's voice from inside, bulldozed past protocol and barged in. He introduced himself and cut straight to the chase. He wanted to know about Kangman's son, Kwon Sungwo. Specifically, was Sungwo truly dead? This hit Kangman like a punch to the gut. The very mention of his son reopened a wound that hadn't healed. But Choi wasn't done. He slid a photo across the desk. It looked uncannily like Sungwo. Kangman's face hardened. To him, this detective wasn't searching for truth. He was digging into a father's deepest pain. Furious, Kangman ordered him out. Yet when the office door finally closed, Kangman's anger gave way to something else. Fear. If Sungwo was alive, it meant the past wasn't as buried as he thought. Meanwhile, the younger crew, Ahyeon and her friends, were piecing together their own mystery. After attending an auction, they came to a chilling conclusion. Uncle Taesik wasn't just a rescuer, he'd been hired to deal with abandoned kids. But the orders hadn't come from him, they came from a masked woman. And this woman wasn't just handling child abandonment, she was running a high-end adoption racket for the rich. And this wasn't your run-of-the-mill shady adoption agency. Oh no. We're talking next-level science fiction villainy. She wasn't just arranging adoptions, she was creating children. Using ovums and sperm donors, she was manufacturing babies with designer genetics. And the wild part? Even the biological mothers didn't know they had children out there. They thought they were just donating eggs for research or some noble cause, when really, it was fueling a baby factory. Perfect genes on demand. Naturally, Ahyeon and the crew knew they had to find out who was behind all this. Their starting point? Track down the egg donor. So Ahyeon headed to a nightclub where the donor liked to hang out. She tailed her outside, flashed her customer card, and saw her get into a car. The next day, Joan armed Ahyeon with some high-tech tools, one device to retrieve data from a server, and another that suspiciously looked like a bomb. Joan warned her not to touch that second one. It was way too dangerous. Somi, ever the cautious friend, also told her to be careful. That night, Ahyeon returned to the club, this time undercover in a wig to mimic the donor's look. When the donor slipped into the restroom, Ahyeon swooped in and stole her customer card. Then, flashing it to a man nearby, she managed to get herself invited into his car. The ride led her to a massive, high-tech building. Sleek, sophisticated, and sterile. A hospital, though one that clearly wasn't designed for healing. The rules inside were strict, Women couldn't even have private conversations, because if anything leaked, there'd be serious consequences. Ahyeon was ushered into a room where a nurse told her to change clothes. Just when the nurse was about to inject her with something, Ahyeon refused. She wasn't here to play lab rat. While Ahyeon was dodging needles, elsewhere Kwon Kangman was busy blowing up at Sehi. He'd just learned Sungwoo might still be alive, and he was furious. To him, this was Sehi's failure. Hadn't she promised to take care of things quietly? Sehi, cool as ever, insisted she had done her job. If Sungwoo really was alive, the whole world would lose its mind. But if Kangman thought it was unfair, hey, he could sue her. She didn't care. Money no longer mattered. She already had plenty. What she wanted now was to fix this strange world, whatever that meant in Sehi speak. She told Kangman that if he proposed an amendment bill, she would personally get rid of his son again. Cold, ruthless, and terrifyingly confident. Back at the hospital, Ahyeon, now disguised in a nurse's uniform, at the same time, another girl arrived, Kim Sehi's daughter, who confusingly enough was also named Ahyeon. This younger Ahyeon was still in the dark about the real purpose of her examination. One nurse noticed a participant was missing, checked a room, and found a nurse snoozing instead of supervising. Immediately, she alerted security that someone had slipped away. Guards were sent scrambling through the halls. Thankfully, Ahyeon wasn't alone. Joan, with her tech genius, pulled up the blueprints of the building and guided her remotely, pointing her toward the right rooms. Ahyeon finally reached a server chamber that looked like mission control for illegal science. She set up her device, connected it to the system, and Joan started pulling data straight onto her laptop. The results were horrifying, a list of thousands of buyers. Wealthy people shopping for children the way others shop for luxury handbags. They weren't just choosing babies. They were selecting genetic traits like ordering off a menu. Good DNA, bad DNA, designer features. This was humanity turned into a commodity. Of course, her hacking didn't go unnoticed. Jung-hyun, who ran things inside, was livid. He locked down the building and sent his men to capture the intruder. Ahyeon bolted, weaving through sterile corridors the lake, while Jung-hyun warned Sehi about the breach. But Sehi, busy meeting Madam, brushed it off. Madam, as it turned out, had married the youngest president of South Korea. Their marriage was rocky thanks to her infertility, and she had even considered divorce, but timing and politics made that impossible. Sehi offered a solution, fulfilling Madam's dream of having a child. In return, the president would owe her a favor, a very powerful favor. The two women bonded over this twisted arrangement like old friends. Meanwhile, Ahyeon's cover nearly cracked when she was asked to escort a patient, Sehi's daughter Ahyeon, to an exam room. Communications went dark inside the building, and Suksu decided to sneak in to back her up. But things escalated quickly when guards spotted her, forcing Ahyeon into a desperate chase. She eventually ducked into a secure room with heavy iron doors. What she found inside nearly made her stomach drop. Embryos, rows of them, like products on display. She also discovered files on trafficked children, and even data on Joan, who had once been adopted by Pastor Sehun. The scale of this operation was staggering. Then came an announcement calling all staff to the lobby. While the building's guards tore through hallways, Sehi's daughter got a secret call from Siwoo, urging her to stay safe and avoid capture. She followed his advice and ran, slipping past the guard. Jung-hyun, not taking chances, ordered the room with embryos to be broken into using a massive saw. Luckily, Ahyeon managed to hide in a chimney above before they stormed in. But Jung-hyun heard her escape route and knew she was on the move again. Cornered, Ahyeon was forced into a group of staff being checked one by one. When her mask was pulled off, she pulled a gun on the guards. A standoff followed, but Jung-hyun fired, hitting his own man by mistake. Ahyeon retreated into the embryo chamber again. This time, she fought with everything she had. Knife against fists, sheer grit against Jung-hyun's brute strength. But she was badly outmatched, beaten down, and in agony. With no options left, she grabbed the last resort, Joan's dangerous little device, the bomb. She triggered it, creating a massive explosion that tore through the room. Through the smoke and chaos, Kim Sehi appeared, calm and terrifying. She looked at Ahyeon, her adopted daughter, and asked the coldest of questions. Why had she come here? And then, like a mother tucking her child into bed, she whispered what she truly wanted, She wished Ahyeon would die.